Alrighty, we are live. So today I'm not holding anything back. I am taking the gloves off to verbally and intellectually poke this gentleman online known as the Muslim Cowboy. Now, why am I doing that? Well, I was just going to let some of the other YouTubers who have addressed it just stick with that. But I'm getting really tired of Muslims who will like mock Jesus and make fun of Jesus, and then at the same time will get really upset if a Christian says anything negative about Muhammad or negative about Allah. But Jesus Christ is our God, so why do they have a double standard? Well, it's because the double standard's built into some of their views of Islam. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go click a few places to share this at while we're chatting. And then I'm going to click up the video, which is um, part of the issue that I'm going to be reviewing. Hello, guys. I appreciate you watching. I see I got a couple viewers there now. Um, what we are going to do is I'm going to show you the tweets first. Then after that, I'm going to be responding to a video that he did where he's criticizing David. And the guy's just not very good at like what he does. And if you go and you watch like his conversion story, it's just as bad. Like it's just sophistry. Almost ready. Almost. So we go there. Right there. Also, I hope everyone's doing well tonight too. I'm going to also real quick add some links in the chat, which there's some links in the description of ways to help me support the channel, like adjusting my camera so I can use the camera again. I'm also looking to try to get a new setup. Now, by new setup, I mean as incredibly cheaply as I possibly can, because I think that you can do a lot online with very little resources. Yeah, God bless you too as well, our friend in the chat. So I'm going to have to click into the video for a second, and then it'll just have me mute. So I'll mute so you guys don't hear any overlap, and then I'll unmute. There we go. I just had to get the volume down so you guys did not hear an echo. So I do have subscriber only mode on. That's just to kind of keep some of the trolls at bay. And so it's like, hey, if you want to comment, you got to click that subscribe button, Mr. Troll. Now let me pull up the first tweet. Let's go to presentation, share my screen. Now I put this into a video so I could just very quickly go back and show you guys issue by issue. And so as you can see on this one, he says, a Texas woman, and this is all you can say, all she wants to now. Okay, sorry, I completely tongue twisted that. He says, I'm a Texan, and this woman can yell all she wants now. And then he goes, she will be yelling even louder in hell for worshiping a dying, pooping man god. Do you hear that lack of disrespect, that way of mocking God that comes from him? But yet when I have conversations with Muslims, they would like a certain degree of respect. And this guy pretends like it's Christians who come online and are just abusive or just say things that are hurtful. I don't buy it. You can't buy what these guys are selling when it comes to the hypocrisy. They tell us not to criticize Muhammad, not to criticize Allah. This is something that they state over and over and over and over and over. But to be frank, when I said I'm taking the gloves off in this video, I'm taking the gloves off, and I'm going to make some truthful statements concerning this. Then I'm going to get into the other part of what this video is about. So look, I try to be respectful as much as I can when it comes to Muhammad, but it's very, very hard to be respectful when you have things like knowing that he married a 9-year-old, or knowing that he actively was okay with, you know, children dying as casualties in the war. Like it's okay that children die. And then you have other things that he did, like taking his adoptive son's wife. You have him taking special perks or permission, these things upon himself. And all right, I got that link shared, got that there. We are rocking and a rolling. So let me go to the next clip, because he's been under a lot of fire for this in particular. I just got to play it and then pause it. And this one I kind of cut in just before the crux of it. It says, "You laugh today, but on the day, so today on the day of judgment, those who believed are laughing at the disbelievers." He is excited to laugh and mock us Christians or atheists who are in hell. He's just gearing up to do that. This is something that makes him feel all too special. Well, now let's get to his next special thought. It'll be there. Alrighty. He says, the disbelievers think we should be ashamed of some of the things in Islam. There's not a single thing our prophet did that I myself wouldn't do. He says, this is submission. This is the way. And part of the issue is that they treat Muhammad as the perfect moral example. And so where this came out is people were like, hey, you're saying there's nothing that your prophet did that you wouldn't do. Well, what about when it concerns his 9-year-old bride? Well, let's see how he responds in the next tweet. He said, yep, it's me. We support our prophet's marriage to Aisha. And if you see on the big screen, he says, at 9. It says, no big deal. She was a woman through and through. Well, look, you sicko. I have a daughter around the same age as Aisha, and my daughter is not ready for any kind of marriage. And so I'm going to keep her as far away from people like the Muslim Cowboy as I possibly can. The fact that you even think like this is something that would be acceptable today, or period. And here's the thing: morality is unchanging if it's objective. If it's subjective that it's changing. But he's not arguing that it was okay back then and it's not okay now. At least when Muslims pull that, they're falling into this view where, they've got some kind of integrity that they're not going to actually engage in this today, even though it's still sick that they're okay with it whatsoever. But he just bites the bullet and he goes, it's okay back then, it's okay now. Let's go to the next one. He says, yes, if she is a woman. It says, women have become a woman at 9 all over the world. You really need to study, champ. So this weirdo, the Muslim cowboy who wants to mock the Christian God, while at the same time criticizing Christians for mocking his false prophet Muhammad, and taking jabs at the false god Allah. He wants to somehow argue that this is something that can be done or should be done. It's just ridiculous. All right, let's keep going. Now, this is his response back and forth to the Dr. David Wood. And so he puts, this was when she was 6, not 9, before consummation. Nice try, chump. So whenever I read this and I've looked up, it always says there was special disposition for her because she was a child, but it also was, in, from my understanding, partaking when they were married. But even if you want to say that's not the case and you want to take his view, you still have where it says, I used to play with my dolls in the presence of the prophet, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. When Allah's messenger used to enter my dwelling, they used to hide themselves, but the prophet would call them to join and play with me. The playing with dolls and similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at the time, as she was a little girl. And even in like a lot of the prophets' biographies, they say just that. And after I get through this I think it's the last tweet, then I'm gonna look at some of your guys' comments in the chat so I can interact with you a bit. All right, that was the last tweet from there. Now we will still go.
I'm Millie, a content creator, coach,
I
and
really
business owner. If I had to start,
hate when it does these commercials, especially when I'm not even clicking on a video. The thing is, you have to be careful, guys, when you're doing like video reviews. You don't want to like download someone else's video and then take that and then like play the whole thing back, because that can get you into other issues. But you can review their video, which means like watching it live and doing other things of that. It says Islamic hadith are not reliable. Even Muslims don't know if Muhammad married Aisha. So there are a group of Shia Muslims who believe that Aisha was a liar, believe that she made all this up, believe that she's not reliable. Sure. I mean, if you want to take that position and throw out all the Sunni hadith, I'm fine if you throw out the hadith, because there's so many more problems that are caused in the Quran. But we should also remember that Shia Muslims have their own hadith, which conflicts with the Sunni hadith. And if you get a Shia and a Sunni and a Quran only in a room together, it's just a massive fight. Although I do find that the Quran only Muslims are much more reasonable. And maybe after we review this video from the Muslim Cowboy, I might go and show you one of their criticisms of the Sunni Muslims. Muhammad also wore Aisha's clothing and received revelation according to the Hadith. So I've heard that too, and I've actually read this Hadith, and I think that people should go and check this out. Now, I think that there's sometimes people will picture that as in like Muhammad walking around in lingerie, like in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. For those who are, I guess, older gentlemen like me, I guess I'm not super old, but I am 39 now. But he would be like, he would wear her like robe, or he would cover up in this, and it was where he could, get his revelation. He also, in some cases with his wives, one of them actually gave up her day to Aisha so the prophet would not divorce her. And you can find that in the hadith as well. All right, now, hey, I do appreciate you guys viewing. And now let's pull this up. He's saying, I admit defeat is what he says. David Wood accepts marriage to a 9-year-old. Now, anybody who knows David Wood knows that he's not accepting this. He's not saying that it's okay. He's not conceding that this is something that he would ever be all right with. So let's see. And I can tell you right now, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what clip this guy's going to play to pretend like that. All right, here we go.
because I mentioned, like Muhammad and Aisha. So if I said, I find that problematic or something like that, if you somehow showed that Islam is true, in my mind, the way I think, I would be like, okay, well, if this is from God and I've got a problem with that, then I'm the one with the problem. I'm the one with the problem, and I need to believe God.
Well, folks, this day is actually a pretty amazing day for me. It's my 10-year anniversary of becoming a Muslim, the day I gave my Shahada, January 24th, 2014. So I want to start by praising Allah, God Almighty.
So 10 years ago today, he left Christianity, according to him, to join the cult of Islam. And yeah, I am being a little bit harsher with him than I am normally when I review or address other Muslims on YouTube. But one, I find his defense of marrying 9-year-olds today despicable. And I also find it very offensive that he mocks our God and then pretends like he's offended when Christians mock his God. It's like this double standard. So let's keep going. And also, that was the clip I thought it was going to be, as far as saying that David Wood was okay with it. So he's saying, in a hypothetical where Muhammad was actually a prophet and he didn't make up the Quran, in a hypothetical where the fictional God of Allah that the Muslims worship was God, in this bizarro land, if he made it to where this was okay, then morally speaking, he's saying he would have to concede to God. The problem is that we have internal intuition that Muslims believe that they have as well, but everyone else has. And you will not find people who are actively ever, unless they have something wrong with them, like in the head wise, who are thinking it's ever okay to marry a 9-year-old. And I'm being very selective with the wording, but we all know that marriage leads to, adult things and activities that happen. All right, let's go.
Almighty, the one who created Jesus, the one who created Moses, the one that they put their heads on the ground to and begged God to forgive them, to help them, to guide them. And that's what I did that day 10 years ago. So I want to thank you.
Yeah, he mentioned Jesus putting his head on the ground. So there was one verse where Jesus did do this, but if you can't take like one action or isolation and then apply that as something that you should do all day, every day, that's not how this works. All right, let's continue.
Allah for journey and for bringing me to the place where I can confidently stand behind my prophet, every single thing that he did, because he was definitely a mercy to all of mankind. I must say,
he can stand behind his prophet because he was definitely, according to the Muslim Cowboy, a mercy for all mankind. Really? It was written in Arabic. They say that I can't understand it unless I read the Arabic. They say you can't even know like the proper interpretations of certain things unless you learn like the science of hadith. It is the most complex religious structure that I've seen. It's even more complex than some of the crazy things that Mormonism does with their temples. All right, let's continue.
I am quite honored that David Peckerwood and A Pussy, along with.
So you hear that? Just clear, flat out insults, mocking their name, twisting the way he's saying the words. And this is the guy who wants to argue that we should somehow respect Islam. Let's keep going.
That one uninspired philosophy guy to talk about my statements defending my prophet Muhammad. Where I come from, when you have a stance and you believe in something, you stand behind it. This is just how we are. We respect people more when they stand up for what they believe in. And people who believe stuff and they're kind of wishy-washy about it, even if they might be even more correct about something, we don't respect them. The issue is whether Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him.
So no, we don't automatically respect people just because they stand behind something. That's not the case. There are people who support NAMBLA or members of NAMBLA, I don't care how committed they are to this. I don't respect the fact that you are committed to it. So if you're committed to something ridiculous, do not expect me to, give you a that a boy, to give you a pat on the back. It's just not going to happen.
Upon him is a prophet or not. Because if I can prove that he is a prophet and that the Quran is from God Almighty, then whatever God commanded him to do.
Well, let's try it, Buttercup. I've never been shown any evidence that the Quran is anything other than man-made. I've never been shown any evidence that Muhammad is nothing but a false prophet. And majority of time when I talk to Muslims, they typically lie to me or they misdirect me. And I don't want to say all Muslims, because there are some Muslims who I have found that are internally consistent within their view, meaning their individual view, because they're not representing Islam. They've made up their own version, and their own version was more coherent than the version of Islam that the majority tries to defend. But the problem is that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter one single bit. What matters is the truth. What matters is what Islam actually teaches and whether or not that actual teaching of Islam is true or false. Not like a cute version that you can cut and paste together to try to make yourself sound intellectual, especially when Islam tells you just to submit. No reason, no logic should be used. Just submit. All right, let's continue.
Was good. And see, this is why I find it really funny, well, kind of dumb, that Christians come after us about the things that they say and have a problem with Muhammad, peace be upon him, doing, even though he was.
Here we go. Whataboutism time, but I'm going to smack that whataboutism down. I'm going to lay the smack down on the Muslim Cowboy, because whatever he says is going to be ridiculous. I can already tell.
Completely moral. The best of mankind is that when you delve into their book and you look at their prophets, people who were considered prophets, who are said to have done horrendous things. I mean, Solomon, peace be upon him. God had to come in the final revelation because people were making up stories about Solomon, and he defended him by saying, verily, it wasn't Solomon that disbelieved, because the Bible says that Solomon lusted after the daughters of Pharaoh and started worshiping their idols. Meaning he became a disbeliever. He was no longer a believer in the Torah. So this is a big deal. And their prophets in the Bible did horrendous, terrible things. They actually raped women. They actually slept with their own family members.
So I would say that he is right, that there are prophets within the Bible who did not listen to God. There are kings that were appointed by God who ended up not doing what they should do. David was an example. Saul was an example. But the only difference between Christianity and the Islam that he's defending is that in his Islam, you have to pretend like everything that Muhammad did was moral, even though it's quite obviously immoral. And so therein lies the problem. Like if you said, "Hey James, was it immoral that King David took and sent a soldier to the front line and then took that man's wife?" Well, yeah, it was immoral. And you know who called him on it? God. And God takes imperfect people and then uses them to convey his message. So he literally takes something broken and fix it. That's the Christian God. That is what he does. All right, let's continue. But just in a nutshell, let me just sum that up. Christian prophets have made mistakes, have done immoral things. God corrects them. We as Christians don't pretend that immoral things were okay, nor should you. But as a Muslim, you are required to pretend that Muhammad's immoral things were okay.
They actually did this and did that. And yet they want to come talking about the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, who we can prove is a prophet, yet he did none of the things that are accused of the prophets in the Old Testament. But rather he was the upholder of justice. He was the upholder of mercy. He was the upholder of justice.
The upholder of justice, the upholder of mercy. Like majority of his time, he was waging wars. It was only when he didn't have a big enough group or he was driven out, because there was time in Mecca and there was time in Medina, and so you just pick up any biography of the prophet and you'll see like how he came in, and like at one point he thought he might be interacting with some kind of demon or something, that he's not really a prophet. At one point he thought about killing himself.
And he brought mercy to a people who didn't deserve it, a people who used to bury their own daughter. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, had character like none other.
Had character like none other. Really? Character like none other? I can think of a lot of people who have better character than Muhammad. I mean, I could literally walk probably down to the local penitentiary and find people who I believe had better character than the Prophet Muhammad. And I'm not just trying to be like rude for the sake of being rude, but when you look at like his life, you don't see a ton of great moral examples. You see when he made up the Quran, him pretending like God was telling people to not come to his house too early for dinner, to not stay too late, to not make a bunch of small talk. Said Allah says that the prophet is shy and he can't say this to you, but I, Allah, will say this to you. So like in this Quran, the final revelation for mankind, it's really necessary that we know, hey, to not stay too long at the prophet's house for dinner, and to not take too long with small talk, or to speak to the prophet's wives behind a partition. And then not to mention, he took his adoptive son's wife and then eliminated adoption in Islam. These are all things that like we know this happened. And so I'm mind boggled by the intellectual laziness that somebody like this portrays, who rejected the one true God in Christianity and took upon himself to believe this falsehood. All right, let's continue.
And this is attested to by his own wives, his own family. If he had harmed anybody, if he was some kind of psychopath, then of a surety after he died, all of the people who were happy to be free of him, would they not have come out afterwards saying, well, you know what, he was actually like this. And look, we have this today all over the place. When people get locked up, they die, comes out all of the stuff they used to do, all of this, their dirty laundry gets aired. Yet after he died, peace and blessings be upon him, what do we see? We see people talking nothing but the best praise about the best of mankind, that his words were gentle, that he was gentle, that he taught that Allah.
What kind of like bizarro land are you living in where you believe that everybody just spoke the best of him? That is not the case. I'm sure all the people who like he waged war with didn't think the best of him. I'm sure that the Jewish woman who poisoned him because of what he was doing to them didn't think the best of him. I'm sure that one of his brides, after he killed her whole family and her husband, and then he consummated with her that same, I think the same night, like her husband's not even, buried. And here Muhammad has, taking a new wife. All right, let's keep going.
Allah is gentle, right? And he loves people who are gentle. The Prophet, peace be upon him, taught that whosoever is kind to the animals, this is a good deed. Who is kind to the environment, this is a good deed. He said, the best of you is the best to your wives. And he said, I am the best to my wife. He is somebody who every single person looked up to. And if you look up to him, then you will live a noble.
So he says, the best of you is the best to your wives. Well, Aisha brought a woman before him and showed that she had bruising around her eye. And you know what? Muhammad did not do anything. Muhammad did not stress to this individual, hey, don't hit your wife. As a matter of fact, Muhammad revealed in the Quran that you would not share the bed with her. And then as the last resort, Muslims try to say it's some kind of ceremonial beating. And then they talk about a mizwak or a stick. Or some scholars will say, like, wrapping a handkerchief around your hands and biting down, like with your teeth, which it's supposed to be, it doesn't leave punctures, but it hurts, or it leaves some kind of impression. And this is like the same way too when it comes to interpersonal things, when it comes to children as well. And I'm not saying all Muslims do this, but there are enough people who follow some of these warped decisions, like the Muslim Cowboy here, who believes that it's fine for him to go take a 9-year-old bride. Yeah, try to do that in Texas and see, how long you get to keep your freedom.
And a fulfilled life, rather than looking up to people like David Woodpecker, the crossdresser, and Apis, the unstable.
You hear that? He mocks David Wood, calls him a crossdresser, pulls up a video where David Wood was doing something humorous to drive home a point. But he wouldn't be happy if I were to then pull up the hadith and make a big video about Muhammad wearing Aisha's clothing. He would not be happy if I then started calling Muhammad a crossdresser. He wouldn't be happy if I started pointing out just how that sounds. And this is the double standard of the Muslim Cowboy. He doesn't know his own religion. He doesn't know Christianity. And he's upset that people are calling him out, because it's absolutely disgusting that he would be okay marrying a 9-year-old.
Stable, sad man who can't seem to get over the fact that he was once a Muslim and it consumes his life. David Wood, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you not say that if Muhammad was a prophet, then anything that he was commanded, you'd have to be behind it? So the issue isn't whether Aisha was.
Yeah, that's a big if. That's a big if. That's built into that if as if, hey, everything in Christianity is wrong. Everything that Muhammad said in pointing back to the Torah is wrong. That's then at that particular juncture, and this is it. This is like this revelation, the Quran. Then David is saying you would have to submit to God's will, because if you're looking at God, and ultimately when it comes to moral standards, if we butt heads with God, God wins by default. So he's taking it and he's misrepresenting it to somehow say that David is fine under realistic circumstances of marrying a 9-year-old. And I can absolutely say, no, David is not fine with that.
Was 9 when he consummated his marriage with her, but it's whether Muhammad is a prophet. Peace and blessings be upon him.
Because I mentioned, like Muhammad and Aisha. So if I said, I find that problematic or something like that, if you somehow showed that Islam is true, in my mind.
Do you hear that? If you somehow showed that Islam is true, if you somehow showed that Muhammad was doing the moral thing, if you somehow showed that all this internal retrospective that we all do, and I would say indwelling nature of the Holy Spirit as a Christian, but even if you're not a Christian, you still have like this internal voice that tells you you should not marry a 9-year-old. All right, let's continue.
The way I think, I would be like, okay, well, if this is from God and I've got a problem with that, then I'm the one with the problem. I'm the one with the problem, and I need to believe God.
I find it quite intriguing that you're coming after me now about this issue, seeing that you yourself finally came to the conclusion that, look, if God in the Bible says to kill a bunch of people, then when God says it, you.
Do you see that? You see that bait and switch? I find it funny that you are coming out against me, and then he goes to the Bible. He's not actually like addressing it. He's trying to pretend like David is indirectly agreeing with him. And now he's going to do, hey, what about your Bible again? Which is the absolute favorite thing of Islamic people who are doing dawah online, to run to the scriptures, to run to the Bible. Well, that's not going to work.
You have to agree that God condoned it and it's from God, right? Maybe he says this at a certain time for a certain reason. but you agreed to it. And now you're going to come and kind of muddy the waters, you know, use a lot of emotional appeal to try to get your followers to come after me and call me all kinds of names. But look.
Well, there is emotion behind it. You are literally arguing that like a 9-year-old could be ready to have sex. You are literally making that argument. And like I said earlier, even though it's a load of crap and they're still saying it's okay under certain circumstances, I respect the Muslims who pretend like somehow there's a distinction in the time period, because at least they recognize today that you should not do it, and then we can make sure that they're not harming children. But when you have a nutter like the Muslim Cowboy here, who's pushing this like agenda, then you have him making these statements that he would do anything the Prophet did, including, he said, including marrying the 9-year-old. Well, now he's validating it for other Muslims who watch his YouTube channel. He's letting them know that this is okay. He's letting them know that Muhammad was the best moral example, and you should repeat after him.
It's not going to work. I stand behind what I believe in. I stand behind my book that I believe in. Not a single word, not a single letter do I reject from my book. So unlike you people, I'm willing to stand up for what I believe in.
I stood over him with the hand.
Yeah, so go and check out the Quran, and everything immoral or nasty or terrible that was done in the Hadith as well. Muslim Cowboy says, bring it on. I would do it in a heartbeat.
Hammer. So I drew back my arm and came down on him with all 230 pounds. I didn't know how fast blood could come out of someone's head. I didn't know how fast blood could come out of someone's head.
All right, so this is something that a lot of Muslims go to. And so David Wood has been upfront with mental health issues that he experienced when he was younger. And he's been upfront with the things that these issues, what they caused him to do. And he's never said he's proud of it. He's never said it's a good thing. But I think it's brave when people will share these online. And I think it's incredibly disrespectful when you have a bottom feeder like the Muslim Cowboy, who is now going to clip this to try to say, okay, hey, David did this when he's younger, so somehow you can't listen to his criticism of Islam, which I got some news for you, Buttercup. That's a fallacy. Just because somebody did something that you believe is immoral, and I would say, hey, it was wrong too. David would say it's wrong. David wouldn't condone it. David wouldn't say it was okay. Even though you want to throw that out and want to bring it up, that does not somehow justify Islam. That doesn't make what you believe true. That doesn't validate anything. That doesn't bring anything forward. Not at all, Crackerjack.
David, are you willing to do the same? I highly doubt it, considering what happens in that hotel room when you and A Pussy travel together.
You see that now? This is something else that's just sickening. So now he's implying that David Wood and apostate prophet are having an intimate relationship together. Do you like see how low life of an individual this is? And I wasn't gonna go there on this, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Like this guy does not have any moral qualms about who he shares a stage with. Like he was on a stage with E.A. Dawa like a week before sentencing for the crimes that E.A. Dawa committed. And these were concerning a minor. So it's not only that this guy is on stage with people who have done crimes similar to this, but he's promoting it, saying, hey, you know what? If you can do this in a country where you can get away with it, you can do it because Muhammad did it. All right, let's continue this video. He's super cringe.
Brothers and sisters, the time right now is better than any other time. Once you recognize that there is no other truth from your Lord except for Islam, that there's only one God worthy of worship.
There is only one God worthy of worship, and it is Jesus Christ. And if you do not repent and you do not turn away from this false religion of Islam, you are going to go to hell, my friend. It's just a fact of the matter. It's something that you can't run from. It's something that's just going to stick.
That he doesn't have sons or partners, sisters, roommates, uncles, brothers. He wasn't himself, then became himself, then killed himself because he himself could not forgive the sins of the people that he himself created. If you have a hard time with concepts like this, then I think Islam's for you. When you don't want to worship a plethora of gods like in Hinduism or a weak God like in Judaism, come to.
Do you hear this? Like, he mocks the Hindus' God. He calls, a weak God like in Judaism. Isn't it the Muslims who keep telling us over and over again that we all worship the same God? Now, granted, we do not worship the same God because we know that Jesus Christ is God and this man is running and screaming from the truth. But by him mocking what the Jewish God and calling him weak, he's calling Allah weak. The Muslim Cowboy just called his God weak. Somebody should clip that and turn that into a repeatable video that can get passed around. Let's continue.
The only religion that was sent by the true God, the Almighty, the one who has no deficiencies, who doesn't forget, who doesn't regret, who doesn't rest, the eternal, the sublime, Allah, Azza wa Jal, the greatest, Allah.
All right, well, he's just going to monologue there for a minute. So let's remove this from the stream. Let's see the chat. So this is a popular Muslim lie. This is where they are going to argue because the God of the Bible, according to them, married Isaac to Rebekah at 3 years old. So, in order to get this misrepresentation, you have to take a couple of Bible verses and you have to smash them together and assume these events happened in direct order at the same exact time. The problem is that the book of Genesis is a big book and it covers a lot of history and a lot of time very quickly. The other issue is you then have to stop being a moron and you have to actually show in the Bible where God is saying, you need to marry her at this age. You also have to answer the other question: how is a 3-year-old carrying buckets of water to water a camel? How is a 3-year-old enacting in like the conversations back and forth with the person who was coming? This is like one of the worst arguments. But I'll do one other thing for you there, Buttercup. If, and this is a big if for some reason you could pull this out and somehow demonstrate it to be true, I would still condemn it. I would say that no, you shouldn't be marrying or having a relationship with a 3-year-old. The Daniel Hikachu stuff is not going to work over here, period. Now, hey, if you would like to come on, I can put the StreamYard link in the chat, and then we can discuss Islam, and maybe you can argue or defend your prophet marrying a 9-year-old, or maybe defend the Muslim Cowboy. I'll wait too. Also, link of the video, ways to support the channel. Like I said, I'm still working on getting my camera situation figured up and out. I think I've got the audio knocked out, but I do have PayPal, Cash App, just ways to help fund the ministry. And I typically try to run my ministry on as minimal amount of money as I can. So I'm really good, guys, about scraping together and doing channels with virtually nothing. So when I started off this channel, I started it off just on my cell phone, just like clipping and going live with different people. And I'm also willing to help other Christians get started in this. So there's an email you can reach out to me, and I want to encourage more people, clip these videos, hold these people accountable. So, because I did reference this a little bit earlier, let me address this. So, E.A. Dawa pled guilty to sex acts concerning and pertaining to a minor. I forget what the exact charges were called, because it's been several months since I've looked into it, and naturally we don't, discuss him quite often, mainly out of respect for the victim, because I don't want the victim to happen to be going through YouTube and seeing this drummed back up. But if somebody defends him, like has happened periodically, well then I'm gonna lay the smackdown on you. But he's in jail for 12 years, so naturally, no live streams from him. And when he gets out, he'll have to register as a sex offender. He'll have to check in with the sheriff's office, I believe, every 90 days. And for any Muslim who says, no, he's not guilty, well, he pled guilty. It's not, he went to trial, took this, fought it, and then the system said, you're done. No, that did not happen. He had some of the best legal representation in the area. I mean, he had a great lawyer, an expensive lawyer, a lawyer who specializes in this. But yet, he still pleaded down. So if there was a saving grace, that lawyer would have found it. Let's check out some more questions. And then I'm also, like I said, if some Muslim who's watching would like to join and defend the Muslim Cowboy, or if you yourself are the Muslim Cowboy watching this video right now, come on in. Just me and you, one-on-one. As long as you are civil, you don't, decide to come in and mock the Christian God and then get upset when I mock Muhammad or Allah back, which typically, guys, I don't take a lot of jabs at, Muhammad or Allah. I just typically go after the facts. I go after, hey, I believe this was immoral. Hey, I believe Muhammad was wrong. But if you're going to take these gloves off and you're going to mock Christianity, and you're going to mock God, and you're going to be this aggressive, well, then I'm not going to show you the same, or I'm sorry, I'm not going to show you respect. I'm going to probably be very disrespectful back to you. All right. It says, if you never read the Quran and convert, laugh out loud. So, interesting fact, I have read the Quran. And here's the crazy thing about it. When I was in a private messenger group where we had atheists, Christians, and Muslims, and we were discussing these religious views back and forth. And they kept telling me that the Quran is not like the Bible. And I'm like, well, the Quran's got stories, right? It tells you what happened. And they said, kind of, sort of. It's like, what do you mean, kind of, sort of? So then I open up the Quran and I see that, it's got chapters ordered a certain way. But then the stories, a lot of the Quran is very repetitive. It refers to people as losers quite a bit. It goes in and out of different stories. It paraphrases a conversation between God and Moses several different ways, almost to where it comes off as a contradiction. And it does this excessively. The other thing too that I had takeaway is that he obviously was not familiar one-on-one with the text. And then there's other things that are very interesting, they want to say that Muhammad is better than Jesus, but yet Jesus was born of a virgin. Jesus breathed life into clay birds. Only God can breathe life. Now they say that he breathed life into the birds by the permission of Allah. So Allah allowed Jesus to associate partners with Allah. by allowing him to create life, something that only Allah does? We don't create life here. Life is something that is here, that was created by God and is developed. All right, let's keep going down to see more comments. This is another good one. It says, "And the Bible calls her a woman, not a girl." So that's one thing that when people try to say that Rebecca was 3, they're just not reading the context. And they're basically saying, hey, why can't we have this when you guys have that? But like I told Christians, just read it. Understand that they're smashing, those 3 different events together. And then they're asserting based on this age that she had to be this old, but yet she's carrying big buckets of water. She's engaging in adult conversations. And we're not pretending like, young girls or young boys were like superhuman and like entered, you know, or entered and completed period at some like high magical, like fast level. It's really weird when they do this too, when they're like, Aisha was unusually smart and mature for her age. Well, you know what? I know lots of kids who are smart for their age, but that doesn't mean when they start puberty that you can sleep with them or that you can marry them. As a matter of fact, like the start of puberty, even if at the start of puberty, in some cases, they can get pregnant, but the hips haven't widened. There's all kinds of other things that will tell you um, that like you should not be doing this. Like puberty is a process, an ongoing process. This whole silly thing that like Daniel Hikachu put out and these other guys put out, that somehow when a woman begins a period, that now she's all of a sudden ready. Like this is just beyond ridiculous. And then to have the Muslim Cowboy spend as long as he was defending this online, I'm going to adjust my mic a little bit too, guys, as we're talking, was just ridiculous. And like I said, any Muslim who's watching or coming by, if you would like to join me, just tell me so in the chat, and then I will add you to the stream and we can have this conversation. But I want to show you something else too while we're on the subject of Daniel Hikachu. And maybe I'll do like a full video just addressing Daniel, because Daniel is a special case of being a big ball of contradictions. All right, I'm looking for the video now too, guys. Also, I do appreciate you guys watching and hanging out with me tonight. The wife and the kids are on a way back from a medical trip because every so often, my kids do have medical needs that require trips that are like a couple hours away from the house. And so she'll take them, and then I will be here minding the house and taking care of all that other stuff. I do want to do more of these lives because I enjoy hanging out with you guys. I enjoy your comments in the comments section. I also enjoy just doing my part for Christianity and my part to expose Islam. And why am I after Islam so hard on certain things? Well, it's because they've lied to me over and over and over. So let's go. Where is the video at? I can also recommend some other good videos too, guys. There's another channel that I do contribute to called Seeking Truth. And on there's a lot of excellent short clips that expose Islam, but actually some long form videos. although there haven't been a lot of long form videos up recently, but it covers different things. If you're worried, or not worried but wondering more about the Khalil Allah backstory and all that, there's a documentary that was put together that's actually on that channel as well. And then I also have on here about a 30-minute video where I cover all the prudent information concerning that. And so you guys can go there and get all that information while it was completely fresh in my mind, because naturally he's not somebody who I, wanted to spend time remembering. All right, we're still looking. It'll be here soon. Maybe what I should do is all right, this one this one real quick, and then I'm still trying to find the other one. All right. Add to the stream. And let's kick it.
Brother asked a question that at the time of the Prophet, there were women who were slave women, and you were allowed to have sex with them even without marrying. So why was it allowed? What is the privilege? And is the vice versa permitted or not? There are many verses in the Quran which say that you can have sex with whom those are your wife and what your right hand possesses.
Now let me get to the point about sex.
So very clear distinction. Your wife and what your right hand possesses. So don't let Muslims pretend that somehow your right hand possesses is your wife as well. Or else we just say you can sleep with your wife. Why would there be a distinction?
Slavery.
It is only for the female women slaves that the man can have sex. The Quran doesn't say the vice versa.
Yes, taking sex slaves was not only morally justified, it was morally necessary.
Not only morally justified, but morally necessary. It was necessary that you took a sex slave. It was something that was required, because necessary implies that there was not only just an option, but that it was needed. You needed to do this.
Finally, the ban came in Surah Ma'idah chapter 5 verse number 90 that alcohol is banned. So here, first, Almighty God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, prohibits any other sex. Only two people allowed. Your wives and that which your right hand possesses. Now, in this age, we don't have, any wars. It may take place. People say that the Quran talks about slavery. Is it justified? I said, yes, why not?
Yes, taking sex slaves was not only morally justified, it was morally necessary.
So here that is like, well, too bad today we're not able to wage war, which means, darn, you just can't get those right hand possessions. And also, for those who are like saying, well, hey, they wouldn't like take someone's wife, would they? Well, no, absolutely. If Islam that believes that they can have defensive jihad, they also believe they can have offensive jihad, which means they can attack you in efforts to try to convert you. If you, as a Christian, don't pay the jizya, then you would face execution or imprisonment or slavery. If you're an atheist, unfortunately for you, they don't even give you that option. You're just gone. But this is the mindset that you'll see with people like Daniel Hikachu. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a bigger video on him. As you see, as I'm scrolling down, there's a lot of long form videos on here. Now what you can do, especially like this channel, the Seeking Truth channel, like I said, I'm a contributor there, and I personally know that like you can go on there, and if you want to clip like even minute chunks from some of the Seeking Truth videos, you're not going to get copyright struck by Seeking Truth. The only thing to keep in mind is that some of the Dawa guys are a bit touchy when they put their foot in their mouth, because they don't like that online as much. And so they do sometimes copyright strike. So I'm just trying to find this. Keep going. I would have swore I saw this video, but if I cannot find it, I will kick on another one for you guys while we're hanging out. No, I don't think they were contradicting each other. I think that Zechariah was just saying that this happens, it can happen, but it's not happening today. Daniel was just doubling down that, like, should a war happen, that somehow it's necessary to happen today. And like I said, if you put comments in the chat, I'll try to interact with them. All super chats I try to interact with, period, before the video is over. But you do not have to super chat to get me to interact with your comment. But I just can't promise that I'll get to interact with every comment, unfortunately. So let's keep, where's it at? I'll find it in a second. All right, let's do this one. It's got a couple different Muslim speakers on it. They are going to be talking about marriage of Aisha, several Muslim teachers. We're going to review this video, some of it.
Now, the why of it, nobody knows except Allah. Because the Prophet ﷺ never married any woman except it came to him from wahi. What does it mean? What is wahi?
Revelation from God.
This is unheard of. Wait and don't fall into Satan's trap. Gather information, do your homework, make a research to understand the circumstances. Then you can answer this, inshallah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, the messenger of Allah ﷺ, never spoke anything from himself, but whatsoever he heard from wahi, this is what he did.
Why did the Prophet propose, alayhi salam? Because Allah ordered him to marry her in a revelation.
So Allah ordered Muhammad to marry Aisha in a revelation. It was necessary. A lot of times he did this where he would blame Allah for his decisions.
And he saw her picture twice brought to him by Jibril. Why did he marry Aisha? Because she...
Yeah, do you hear that? Jibril, the angel who gave him revelation, also brought him pictures of a child, under the age of 7 a couple of times to prompt him that, hey, he's got to marry her. That's sick.
She was the daughter of his lifetime friend, his best friend, Abu Bakr. And they wanted to strengthen the bond.
Well, I'll just say this right now. You're not going to strengthen the bond by marrying your friend's 9-year-old or letting them know, hey, I would like you to pledge your 6-year-old to marry me. And then at a certain point, we're going to get this thing done. Like, no, that does not strengthen your bond of friendship.
So he married her.
The Prophet is a man like everybody else, but Allah subdued his nafs. Allah subdued his nafs with wahi, revelation. So he was guided by Allah. He was accompanied by Jibril alayhi salam. His nafs never came up above the revelation. So whatever the Prophet said.
Apparently these guys haven't heard of the satanic verses and how Satan influenced Muhammad. Let's continue.
Elected to do. He did it through the influence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and through the guidance he received from Jibril alayhi salam. So why he got Aisha, we don't know that, because where did the order come from? Hello.
No, he doesn't know why. It just came from Allah. So he's just saying You basically do what Allah told you to do, which is why when I tell you guys over and over again that Muslims believe just to submit, they believe just to submit. Clear and simple. All right, let's continue.
Allahu Akbar.
This is the norm. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ,
If this was the norm at the time of the Prophet, why did he only have that one, underage wife? Why did he tell one of his friends when they asked to marry one of his daughters that she was too young? Why wasn't there other recorded records in Islam of all these guys marrying this if this was something that was just common in that particular era? And even if it was common and you found an isolated group that believed this was okay, that doesn't make it moral. All right, let's continue.
this is the age that girls got married in. Don't judge their era with the standards we have today.
Moral standards don't change. It's not subjective morality like in atheism. It doesn't matter what time and period it is. Murder is still wrong regardless of when you do it.
The non-Muslim who is not able to understand or recognize they between the sky and the earth, they suspended because what? They're ignorant. They don't know. They don't understand the premise of revelation, so they can't appreciate that. But those who can appreciate revelation understand that prophets, alayhimus salam, were ordered to do things that we don't understand, that we call mu'jiza. We call it miracle, phenomena, because it came from God.
We are taking our
Ordered to do things that they do not understand. So they just know that it's a good thing and it's moral for you to marry a 9-year-old and consummate the marriage, providing that she's at the beginning stages of her puberty, which is, I've already explained to you guys earlier, is incredibly immoral for you guys to believe. All right.
cultural mores, our cultural norms, and then back projecting them onto the Arabian society. You see,
Yeah, we do talk when we talk about things. There are certain things that are cultural that you can't, push back, but those are because even if the culture changes, the morality doesn't change. But we know that this is wrong. We don't see examples of this happening on a mass scale. So you would have to then still argue and defend this particular marriage. But if you defend and say it was okay back then, you're either saying that in some cases it's okay, in some cases it's not okay. But you're still in that position where you're saying that it's okay for some people to marry a 9-year-old.
see, the age of marriage is something that has no normative, no standard age.
The non-Muslim who is not able to understand or recognize they between the sky and the earth, they suspended because what? They're ignorant. They don't know. They don't understand the premise of
They're ignorant. They don't know. They don't understand the premise. Sure, whatever.
revelation, so they can't appreciate that. But those who can appreciate revelation understand that prophets, alayhimus salam, were ordered to do things that we don't understand, that we call mu'jiza. We
Ordered to do things that we don't understand.
call it miracle, phenomena, because it came from God.
Aisha was the happiest wife in the whole world. Who are you to get irritated?
Yeah, she was the happiest wife in the whole world. She was able to keep playing with her dolls. So I guess that was enough to make her happy.
When Aisha herself was the luckiest, most fortunate woman in the whole world? She wasn't complaining. She wasn't feeling anything bad.
Oh, she wasn't complaining. So you have somebody who was married at a very young age and groomed to believe that marriage was okay. And you're saying because they didn't complain that somehow it's all right. Well, once again, I've called a few people Buttercup today. Let me say it again. Listen up, Buttercup. Even if you convince a child that what you are doing is okay, doesn't make it okay. And even if the child somehow agrees with you, they're not capable of agreeing with you, sunshine. All right, let's continue.
So in that day and age, puberty, intellectual maturity in the hot Arabian climate, in the desert life, young children age faster because you have to take on.
Prove it. Prove it. Other than just asserting that things were harder and they had more responsibility sooner. Prove it. Prove that medically this was the case. You can't do it.
Responsibility.
Allah selected Aisha for the Prophet ﷺ. That's number one. And when the Prophet ﷺ realized that Allah inclined him towards Aisha, who was Aisha radiallahu anha? She was the daughter of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu. And
so Aisha's age in her time would be our equivalent of whatever, 16, 17.
He says,
would be the equivalent of 16, 17. See, this is one of the Muslims who's taking the opposite position of the Muslim Cowboy. And he's arguing that there was just a special circumstance for Aisha. So he's probably not going to be one who's going to defend the marriage to a 9-year-old today like the Muslim Cowboy did over and over again.
Abu Bakr, he says, do you love me? Abu Bakr said, Ya Rasulullah, I sacrificed my mother and my family for you. He said, then I would like to ask you for your daughter in marriage. This is very common among.
Well, look, if my friend says, hey, James, do you love me? Do you value our friendship? I say, yeah, sure. I love you. I value our friendship. The very moment you then ask to marry my, daughter, who's around the same age as Aisha was, I'm probably going to disown you. I may even consider like pressing some kind of restraining order or getting something to keep you as far away from me as possible. And this is just like the simple fact, truth of the matter, period. I'm not ever going to be okay with somebody asking me that, and I don't know why you or anyone else would be okay with it.
The Arabs.
Self is a happy wife. She is a loving wife. She has so many ahadith of the Prophet. She clearly has not been traumatized.
She has all these hadith attributed to her. She's saying all these things that Muhammad told her. So clearly, she has not been traumatized. Well, look, I was a victim of sex abuse as a child. I was taken advantage of, and I was hurt physically. Now, that trauma affected me for a period of time, quite a period of time when I'm younger. But that trauma today, because of Jesus Christ, that does not affect me. I'm no longer victimized by what this person did. So trauma is not something that has to stay with everybody always in their life. And I know people are different, and I know somebody might try to mishear what I'm saying. It's not saying that your trauma is not valid, meaning how you feel and how you process it. But what it's saying is that you can release yourself from that trauma. Seek help, get advice. But his argument that, hey, she happened to record some things that the Prophet said, and she took an army and waged war against Muslims. Yeah, that means that she wasn't traumatized. Sure.
The Arabs at that time, it was urf. It was part of their urf. It was very normal for them to ask for the daughter of a man when she was 9 or 10, so that that daughter could come and move with the family, not sleep with him, but come and move with that family so he could observe her, she could observe him. So by the time she got to the age where she could have sexual relationships.
So now he's trying to say that they would take your daughter at the age of 9 and 10. They would bring her over. She would get to observe you. You would get to observe her. But in this particular view, Muhammad had this at 6 and then consummated at 9. But now you're saying it was common for 9 and 10-year-olds to move according to you. But that would still not excuse Muhammad, because it sounds like Muhammad then went early. according to even this, and special pleading that somehow she was more mature. I don't care how many times you say she was more mature, Muslim Cowboy. It's not going to fly.
And have children and intimacy, they would have already built a bond. You understand that?
14 centuries later. So
that is called grooming. I'm going to rewind that just a smidge so you can hear this. This he's describing grooming.
Sleep with him, but come and move with that family so he could observe her, she could observe him. So by the time she got to the age where she could have sexual relationships and have children and intimacy, they would have already built a bond. You understand?
Yeah, I understand. It's grooming. It's sick. All right, let's continue.
Understand that?
14 centuries later, so traumatized. So think about it and be a little bit more mature.
Why did he marry Aisha at such a young age? And can we use that as an example for us to marry young girls the same age today?
Did your Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam marry Aisha when she was just a child? How do we respond to them?
He took a drink because he knows this is a tough question, and he knows that he's about to utilize his voice, spinning a big web of lies and misinformation.
First of all, you do not have to respond to every question that you're asked.
No, you don't have to respond to every question you ask, or sorry, every question you are asked. But if you don't respond to this question, I don't know who's going to like convert to Islam. Like, could you imagine somebody's making this objection to you? Hey, your prophet did this. Hey, I'm not going to respond to you. Just, submit. Just accept this because the Quran is true and I'm asserting that he's a prophet.
If someone asks you an inappropriate question, would you answer him? So if someone asks you about a previous sin, did you ever try champagne? Have you ever gone out with a woman and fornicated? And you say, oh, astaghfirullah, I can't lie. Okay, yes.
Yeah, if you're looking at like a previous sin, in Islam, they cover that up. You're to cover up your past sins and you're to cover up your brother's past sins. So in Christianity, we don't bring up sins to like hold it over somebody, that the mistakes they made, but we will bring up mistakes and sins as testimonials to other brothers to let them know that we were in a position where they are. Now, I don't think this is just like some kind of sin that he's wanting to say that Muhammad did, but he's trying to conflate the two to somehow give reason to not have to respond to it. All right, let's continue.
I did or no, I didn't. No, you don't answer such questions. Now, if the person asking this question is someone who's objective, who's fair, who's just, who's interested in learning about Islam, no problem in answering him. If he is someone who's just trying to tarnish the reputation of Islam, trying to cast doubts in your mind, avoid him and do not pay any attention to him.
So basically, you can answer somebody if you think that they're not really seeing an issue with it, they're not really wanting to object, they're just curious. They just want to know what you believe. Well, I can understand why somebody would be curious about this particular view. When I heard it, I was like shocked. It was one of the first objections that I ever was introduced to Islam, and I'm like, why or how could you guys be okay with that? All right, let's go.
But seriously, Sheikh, come on. Why did the Prophet ﷺ, when he was like 53 years of age, marry a child of 9 years of age?
A little bit more historical, there's absolutely nothing wrong. And all Muslims, Don't apologize for the truth and don't distort the truth. There are Muslims that try to deny this. Oh, he didn't marry Aisha as a young girl. Ya akhi, look, that's not the way forward. We don't lie for the sake of our religion. Astaghfirullah. We have the truth. We're not going to cover up the truth if people find it embarrassing. This is the reality. Deal with it. Our Prophet ﷺ married a young girl and it was fine for the time. I am not saying we need to resurrect this age in our time.
Well, the Muslim Cowboy is saying that you can resurrect it and that he would do it.
Because times have changed. And there's no problem in our time. My own Sheikh Ibn Uthaymin, rahimahullah ta'ala, he was of the opinion that we should have a minimal age of marriage, 15, 16, whatever the call. He didn't specify an age, but he said, yes, we should have a minimal age that society now is used to and accustomed to.
So you are forced to then say that based on what you are giving us, that if Muhammad was alive today and he was in the process of marrying Aisha, assuming she was alive today, then Muhammad would have to have a visit from Chris Hansen and Dateline NBC. I don't know if you remember the To Catch a Predator series, but by your view, Muhammad would be doing something wrong today. The logical entailment of what you're saying is that Muhammad is doing something that would lock him up today. Muhammad is doing something that is immoral today. So, well, my hat's off for him for not, encouraging Muslims to marry young, children like 9 years of age, like Daniel Hikachi or the Muslim Cowboy does. It's still not much better. But then you'll have Muslims who would just completely deny her age and pretend she was 19 and do some creative math. That's a shocking part of it. It's kind of interesting. I was looking for the one video, but I didn't find that, but I found some other interesting videos that I could show you that were related to this. And if you go through this channel, the Seeking Truth channel I mentioned, there's all kinds of little videos and things that you can share. A lot of shorts have been uploaded on there, and there's a lot of shorts been uploaded on this James is Tired channel as well. And I'm getting better about doing my shorts and my criticism. So I think that some of these short videos that I'm putting together, I'm designing them in such a way that I'm addressing something that I find is bad or ridiculous, and I'm sharing a Muslim teacher in several cases saying it, and then I'm addressing it. That way, the Muslim can't say, hey, you're making it up. He can say it's not Islam. He could say that the teacher's wrong, and he can publicly disagree with this popular Islamic teacher. But he can't say I'm making it up. All right, let's see. It's got to be here. Got to be here. We've been on for a few hours now, too. I appreciate the guys who have stayed with me through the long run. I think I saw right about the time I planned to do this that there was all kinds of other channels that are doing live. And I believe that those other channels are done now. But it is hard to compete with some of the bigger YouTubers because they've been doing it longer. People enjoy their content, and I get it. I enjoy their content. The thing, though, is we need more Christians who are engaging in the gospel. We need more Christians who are defending Christianity, who are addressing these false religions like Islam. We basically need more of you to stand up, and I'm happy to help show you or explain to you how to start like a channel very, very easily, just using some basics. All right, let's see. What I might do is I might just find that particular video offline and then go and save it so then I can come back. There's things like this channel's got no science in the Quran. It's got clips from different Muslim Dawah guys who are explaining very clearly that the Quran does not have science. The Quran is not a science textbook. So yes, I do recognize there are different versions in Islam and that they do teach different things. I'm not going to pretend like that's not the case. So yeah, I concede to that wholeheartedly. It's just whether or not they're justified in their belief. So while I think the Quran only Muslims are more rational, I don't think given Islam they're as justified in their belief. All right, but they do make more sense, but they can make sense and still not be justified. Why is this it? Oh, this was an interesting one. Hamza has a moon landing argument. I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but let's pause over. Always like seeing Hamza with the epic fails. All right, and it's a short video too.
Do you accept testimony as proof?
Not necessarily.
All right, what proof do you have man landed on the moon?
What proof do you have that man landed on the moon? Hamza's making flat earth arguments here, guys.
The surface, as we said, was fine-grained with lots of rocks in it. It took footprints very well, and the footprints stayed in place. The limb was in good shape and exhibited no damage from the landing or the descent.
Because you know it's a testimony, we know that.
I mean, I've watched previous episodes where you go through the whole like testimony of.
So it's just testimony. It's not video. It's not like equipment that we have. It's not like moon rocks. It's not reflectors that we put on the moon. It's just testimony. That's all.
No, I want to know. I want to know. You just said testimony is not proof. So what proof do you have man landed on the moon?
Engine command override off. Engine arm off.
How about like video like this?
413 is in. We copy you down, Eagle. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Well, I've looked at the source code because I'm a programmer. The source code of the guidance computer. It was capable of landing. Well, I'm saying it's circumstantial. I don't think it's circumstantial, but
it's source code evidence. Well, he's telling you that he's actually like looked at the code and said, "Hey, yeah, this was capable of this." So he's starting to build an argument. But let's keep going.
Your proof. What's your proof? I want your proof, man.
The capability of humans to actually be able to land on the moon.
No, I didn't ask that question, did I? I didn't say proof to me that man could have landed on the moon. I said proof to me man landed on the moon.
It's gigantic. It filled our entire window.
The next day, Sunday, July 20th, was landing day.
I don't have proof.
So why'd you believe it?
I mean, I don't have proof in my hands.
So why'd you believe it, man?
I believe it because there's no reason to doubt.
Why is there no reason to doubt?
There are many people that doubt
first
it,
of all,
there's definitely reasons to doubt.
The fact that
there's
the
the politics of it.
There's many people who doubt it. There's definitely reasons to doubt it. You hear they're arguing like a flat earther. This is the level that you have to do to defend Islam at certain points.
The fact that the Russian government stopped their space program once the USA had landed on the moon is huge circumstantial evidence to me. The fact that
Not
also
at all. Not at all. Hold on.
Yeah,
What do
why would they want
think?
to
You think
continue
Russia
or
didn't
pursue that?
continue? Didn't Russia then later go to the moon?
No.
One small step for man.
No, Russia did not go to the moon. But then again, Sheikh Uthman believes that there's some crack in the moon. There's cracking, and he believes that's like where the moon was patched together after Muhammad split it. So naturally, he wouldn't know anything about like the moon landing or history.
One giant leap for mankind.
No. You think Russia didn't send any more space programs out because
they went into space, but they didn't.
Yeah, so they didn't stop their
They didn't land
space
on the moon.
program.
Well, they didn't
but their
stop the space program.
didn't stop. But you do
They
realize
stopped the race to the moon.
You do realize
stopped
economics had
there.
a big thing to do with that, right?
Sure.
Yeah, the collapse of the Russian economy, and then which later went to the collapse of the Soviet Union.
So I love this comment, so I'm going to highlight it on the screen for you guys. I think Muslims own an IHOP because they are waffling. Is this where you do the little drum? Very, very well put. All right, let's continue.
Decades. That was like 30 decades.
Oh, you don't even realize that was a part of the You need to do some more research, guy.
July 1969 AD. He came in peace for all mankind.
So one of the things one of Reagan's I mean, if you read his writings and things,
I don't think he's ever read one of Reagan's writings.
One of the things that they had pushed earlier, 50 years before they had planned, was to try to make Russia bankrupt by having them in this competition that they felt they couldn't keep up with. There's books have been written about this. There are many people who believe the moon landing was a hoax just to bankrupt Russia. I'm not saying that's true or not, but I'm saying there are many opinions out there. Having code that could do something is evidence. You know that.
So the audio is breaking up, but that is not on my end. That is on the video. So let's continue.
Exactly. There are books written about the exact same. So now you believe in it, even though you didn't see it, and you have no actual.
No, you asked the question. Why would they lie? And then you answered your question. Why they would lie?
Conward, go for landing. Altitude 4200. Houston, you're a go for landing, over.
I don't get it. Sorry.
Well, you just said because the Americans made the claim they landed on the moon, this means the Soviets stopped trying to land on the moon. That's what you just said.
Yeah, I mean,
so there's a motive there.
Just because of their claim.
Trying to land
I don't
on the
think
moon,
that they
tell
were.
them you've landed
I
on
think
the
that
moon.
they. I mean, at least they must have tracked those. You know, the space shuttles, tracked them. And
they must have. You're making assumptions now.
Where's your proof? I want your proof, mate. You want
I'm not necessarily defending that.
Well, apparently they haven't looked at any of these videos. Now, I stopped here, and I'm probably glad I did because this was about to play a little bit of a song, and I think that would affect my video as far as copyright goes. But it would have been "Man on the Moon" by REM, which I recommend people go and pull up and take a look. All right, let's go. Keep going. Yeah, this gentleman here who's on the screen there, I'm not going to blow up the video, but his name is Vin. There's some of his videos on that channel as well. He is also somebody who's contributed. He's very good at dressing Islam. He also does a channel where it's a Christian reviews different, artists and music. Also, I'm going to share this one. I've watched this one a long time ago. As you can see, there's a little bit of red bar where I've had that played. I need to set up some background on this, but so on Clubhouse, there was an issue where some Sunni Muslims recognized some voices of some Shia Muslims and were then implying, certain things that should be happening. And I think in some cases directly. So let's watch a little bit of the video and you be the judge.
Now that these Shia, well, what we've decided is, because here in London, there's a good few hundred of us, and we are the people that are establishing the truth, and we're trying to learn for ourselves. So what we decided, because the other day we were in a debate here, and we recognized a few of the Shias that were talking. So what we've decided to do is we're gonna sometime next week we're gonna go around to their mosques and we're gonna try sitting down.
Brother K, you might be recorded here.
Something you Shia have done, you're going to make us turn up at your mosques, and we are ready. We're going to be going to Shia mosques now in the UK, and we want to sit down. You know what it means? It means we want you to say what you're saying, like you're saying now, to our faces, and we'll show you what you're dealing with. And believe me,
are you making
plenty of Shia in the UK. This ain't a threat. Shia make threats. We don't make threats. What I'm saying is the
Doxing is a short form of dropping docs, which is when a person drops the documents about its rival. It could reveal the identity of their rival and harm their business. In the internet world, doxing is a type of cyber attack.
From Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, all from young, all of us Sunnis, when we go to madrasa, when we go to school, we are taught to hate Shia. We are taught that all Shia are kuffar and kafir, apart from certain sects of Zaydiyah Muslims. This is something we are all taught. We are all taught that you guys, and when we get older, we are taught that you guys are wajib al-qatl.
If the doxing is part of a larger campaign of harassment, victims who don't fall into those categories may be able to press charges based on state or federal stalking legislation, or file a civil suit for damages.
What we can do, you're obviously better than me, but we can make a series of rooms and we can tell our Sunni brothers this to the clubhouse that this is what Shias do. They have no respect for our wives, and we can pin some links. And here's a suggestion by Speak Extreme. The main guy battle Gaji, right? Okay, so we know some brothers who know their address, whose address, yeah? We can tell him, look, you gotta stop this cursing clubhouse, or there's some emotional selfie bros out there, and you can end up getting hurt or your family. Do you know what I mean? Like, maybe we just have to use this map, or we can just drop his address on this app.
No. You hear that?
Just off topic, inshallah. People saying that there are missionaries and there are people in the room. Maybe we should, inshallah, continue this conversation in private. What do you brothers think?
Exactly. Just a bit off topic at the moment. Just a bit off topic because we do have some.
Yeah, you do your evil planning of, doxing and ruining someone's life in private. Doesn't make it any better.
The goals range from intimidating or humiliating victims, causing a loss of employment or breaking off of relationships, or making the target a victim of in-person harassment or assault.
SubhanAllah, who are we talking about, these people? They only understand one language. And that's a language some of us may use. And I'm not saying Heather uses the same technique. No. Dr. Khalil, you are above and you are an honorable man. So you do what you need to do. You have a duty to do. You have a job to do. You continue doing it. MashaAllah. May Allah increase you in that. But there are some brothers who want to handle these people, the street thugs. We have brothers who know how to handle them on the street also. Let them do what they need to do. Don't stop them. So I say use, but anyhow, a private room amongst us and with them also. But I agree with these people openly to give them recognition further. Even every time we have a room with them, we're recognizing this 10 less.
He's like one of those Bond villains where, he's got James Bond, in handcuffs, and he proceeds to tell his whole entire diabolical plan.
It's a 10% cult. I don't know who called them cult. I agree with that cult. Abu Yahya. Yeah, Abu Yahya called them a cult.
But also remember, having even a club addressing them is giving them recognition. Let's be honest here. having a whole club dedicated to them. This is the reality that we're dealing with now, and I'm just trying to take this reality and take benefits out of it, which is exposing falsehood and demonstrating truth. Our job is to show haqq. If we are upon haqq, it needs to be shown. But I do agree that Ahlul Bidah, it's not some people we hang out with, but the ulama throughout history, our salaf, did debate them, did have discussions and debates and wrote books about them. And Allah knows best. All I want to say is Jazakumullah khairan for all your points and all great points.
Barakallah fiik, ya akhi.
Barakallah. Do ping me if there is a private room, inshallah, or if you guys decide topic. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
Terms of service of most social media platforms. Reporting tweets or Facebook posts that include your personal information will generally get them swiftly taken down and the offending user suspended.
Yeah, if somebody doxes you, threatens you, tries to, intimidate you online, report the living daylights out of them to the app. Reach out locally, see if you have legal recourse. And then I always tell people I'm never one of those guys who comes online and goes, you know what, I invite you to come on over. No, that just doesn't happen. I'd prefer if you did not come over or try to visit me. I'd prefer if you kept your opinion to the comment section on my videos, or join me live. But no, I don't want you to come to my house, and I don't want to get physical with you. But what I always tell people is that you should think very, very long and hard before you threaten physical acts of violence on people. You can get all these legal problems, and then the other thing is you don't know who you're talking to. I was a 2-time district qualifier in wrestling. I'm not a small person. I'm not like somebody who could be easily intimidated by somebody even a little bit bigger than me physically. So it's like I said, you don't invite threats. I don't welcome that. But on what world or platform do people dream on where they think that people are just going to let them intimidate you? And if somebody is intimidating you, don't let them. Period. Report it, stress it. And like I said, when I was showing you this video, this was a couple years back on the Clubhouse app, and this was some of the things that we run into. We all know that Ajaz was involved in doxing, racial slurs. We all know that he kept papers, information on people, which was reported by another Muslim when him and Ajaz had a falling out. And then he never really retracted it after him and Ajaz kind of got on better terms again. All right, let's take a pause from this channel because we've been here for a hot minute. And I want to show you what I was referring to about YouTube Shorts. I've been doing a lot more of these, and I've really kind of been enjoying putting those together. And like I said, I'll take what the Dawah person or teacher is saying, and then I'll address it. Let me give you this gem, being as we mentioned Ajaz, and maybe I'll play one or two more, but play this one. Ajaz exposes the first 3 generations of Muslims.
Anytime the Muslims would appeal to verses from the Old Testament or the New Testament, either one, there were very specific verses that they would cut and paste together, or they would actually change the wording of whatever they selected.
You can't just change the text to fit the narrative, to fill the holes that are there.
The Muslims would appeal to verses from the Old Testament or the New Testament. Either one, there were very specific verses that they would cut and paste together, or they would actually change the wording of whatever they selected.
And you really think this is okay?
And whenever they could edit it to reflect what they think it would have originally said, that if it had been revealed from God, they freely did this.
Well, Buttercup, it sounds like the early generation of Muslims changed the word of God, not the Christians. And they changed it to mean whatever they felt it should mean. Ajaz exposes. So this is what I mean. I take what they say as the dawah guy, and then I react to it. And I still have Muslims who come on these videos, like, and comment and say that I don't understand, or I'm taking them out of context. Like when I say that, like, I don't like Ali Dawah and I don't like Muhammad Hijab and I don't think they're good people, I have justification for that, like this one. So in this short clip, Islam Critiqued sums up issues with Ali Dawah and Muhammad Hijab very nicely.
Hijab are using some of their time to spew perverse sexual suggestions, while Ali Dimwit also practices his spit skills, just like Hijab taught him.
Don't talk about what, because I will spit directly in your face right now. Okay, you do the woman.
Ali, a spit.
I will spit directly in your face right now. Okay, you do the.
He even pulled the chair out from under Hatun, so she fell to the ground. When Muslims see their own authorities contradicting the standard narrative and their apologists acting like disgusting fools, many of them must be wondering what is happening with their religion.
Now, if you're really, really still not convinced, go to Islam Critiqued. He's got several other videos showing that these two are nothing but clowns and should not be taken seriously at all. Yeah, I stand by that. Those two are clowns and should not be taken seriously at all. And I am going to be putting together a few more short videos exposing those two sometime this weekend. And let me... So this is something... So God Logic is another Christian YouTuber. I enjoy, interacting with him. And he has a habit of, like, getting Muslims to be very open. And so I want you to hear this. All right, so it's right here. So I am sick to my stomach right now. This conversation I'm about to share with you is disturbing.
So do you believe that Muhammad was the best example?
Yes, sir.
So what if I could prove to you that you're better than Muhammad? That you morally, you're not?
No, sir.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Would you ever sleep with a child?
So what day and age am I in?
This is excellent. You're nowadays.
Today's 2022?
22.
No, sir.
Why the answer to this was just not an emphatic no, never, no circumstances is beyond me.
All right, now let's say you were in the 7th century. Would you sleep with a child?
Back in the day?
Yeah.
Where it was normal? Where everybody and their moms was doing that?
Would you do it?
Yes, sir.
This is why you see how bad that was? We address this because Muhammad's claimed to be the perfect moral example. Yet he slept with a 9-year-old, which makes these people think that at certain times and periods, it's okay for you to sleep with a 9-year-old. Let me tell you this, it's never okay for you to sleep with a 9-year-old. So I never thought that I would have to put together a short video for YouTube where I state that very clearly. It is never okay for you to do that. Yeah, that physically hurt to watch. And I think that, like, some people think that, we're being too harsh, but no, I don't think we're being too harsh when children are, the topic. Like I said, several of us have kids around these ages, and we definitely don't want them to, get caught up in some weird thing like what these guys are promoting might be okay. Let me go and grab another one. So, interesting fact about YouTube Shorts. So, once I get all the clips together and I know what I want to say, I might shoot a couple videos in a row. But in order to, like, not have, and this is some advice for you, in order to not have, like, all the videos with you, like, wearing the same outfit, I'll actually, like, change shirt or change hat. That way, the video stands more unique. And it's a way so that your audience doesn't accidentally think that they're watching the same video, that they know that they're watching something different. All right, let's all. My last video, Dow, is finished, and the reasons why I kind of go into some thoughts on that. Also, David Wood joined me a few times, so that is up there too for anybody to take a look at if you would like to see it. I was looking for more of the shorts, but it is kind of weird. I have to try to edit how my YouTube channel is presented a bit when people come in, because I think that sometimes, like I'm so used to looking at it on the phone, but I don't necessarily look at how it looks to you, the viewer who's coming on. It's like one thing that I added too is we have the channel memberships too that they let me add now. And some of I was looking at some of these other channels, and some of the membership fees are just like ridiculous. So I made it because YouTube tries to walk you through the process anyway. I made it like the minimal, I think it's like 99 cents or something like that. And then I put a lot of my conversations with atheists and others are in there too. The same thing, like when we're growing our ministries, you always have to turn it over to God. And so your ministry or what you're doing is going to, get blessed and grown if, you're following God's guidance and if you're doing what God wants you to do. I firmly believe that God won't, put blessing on your work when you're in active disobedience to him. And so what I do here is I do my own little slice or piece, my own little effort to share the gospel, to witness to people. And right now it is Muslims that I'm listening to, and listening to, and that I'm witnessing to. You guys can tell I'm getting tired, which is also funny because the name of the channel is James is Tired. But you'll see that I had some atheist videos about 6-7 months ago, because that was where my main focus was for ministry. And I kind of go and listen to what God has for me. But right now, I think Islam and sharing the gospel are going to be two of my main focuses. All right, let's... Oh, here's a conversation that I had with an atheist. This one was really, really unusual because he got really upset with me, and I couldn't even get to talk to him. So let me just show you the part that was just out of control, because I know that sometimes I get accused of being hot-headed at points when I'm in Discord. But I just want to kind of give you a taste of some of the stuff that I've dealt with that has caused me to respond in different ways. Now, ultimately, I have to control my own actions, and I'm responsible for my own actions. But without further ado, I'll click.
Her dogma, but she's not interested in understanding my
thing. Right? There's a willing taking place, which means that there's an action that's being rationalized by beliefs and desires. Right? Is that what you're saying? Is the lesser will rationalizing an action? Because if not, I don't understand in virtue of what it's a will at all.
So it's because the choice is the greater.
Let's just get an answer to the question rather than a monologue, right? Is it rationalizing an action or not?
Jack, you've been talking incessantly, and I haven't gotten a chance.
Hey, I'm not interested in the dodging and the right. I'm interested in getting to the bottom of this, right? If you're not willing to play the game, you can up, right? You want to just start mouthing off about a lesser will and not tell us what that means? Just go question. Does the lesser will rationalize an action or not? Because otherwise, I don't understand what it means to call it a will at all, right? So what the is it?
No, my issue is that you won't let me finish.
Yeah, it's a yes or no question. I'll repeat the question, right? Does the lesser will rationalize an action? Yes or no?
once again, you won't let me finish.
Yeah, so you off. Off if you're not going to answer the question. Let somebody else step up to the plate. You fucking dumbass.
You sound like somebody.
Yeah, why do you keep talking? Why do you keep talking? If you're not going to answer the question, just shut the up.
You are definitely.
Shut up.
This is like.
Shut your mouth. Nobody's interested in hearing your want an answer to the question, right? If you're going to say stuff about a lesser will, tell us what the that means. If you're not going to tell us, just off.
Like I said,
you keep talking.
So that's just to kind of show you of like an example of some of the conversations that I have had periodically on like Clubhouse and Discord that has led me to be aggravated or more hot-headed than what I would normally be. Like I don't normally get upset or flustered in my everyday life. And I know that like on this video, I was definitely taking, verbal pop shots at the Muslim Cowboy and intellectually, demolishing him. But, I don't feel bad given what he was doing or how ridiculous he was, period. She says that clip raised my blood pressure. I can understand that. That was particularly worse than what I have encountered. So there's other videos on my channel where I edited out the times that people were like cursing at me. And I've got 2 up right now. Now, to be fair, not all the interactions are like this. Majority of the interactions are just misrepresenting me. So I'll say, like, I'll give you an example, a Christian position that I was teaching them, that sex outside of marriage is a sin and it's an abuse of sex. So then when I was talking about like OnlyFans, pornography, and prostitution, I said that that's sexual abuse. That is abusing sex. That person is degrading themselves for someone else as well. And so then they took that and then they applied it to somehow I was saying that victims of assault were allowing themselves to be assaulted. You can see like just where the mindset goes, where they have to grasp at straws and take, what you're saying out of context. But like, I think that you can still abuse sex even if it's willing. I think that that's clear. So an OnlyFans account, I think, is abusing sex. I think that pornography is abusing sex. I think that prostitution is abusing sex. And so I stand by those statements. I think we're getting ready to wind down too, guys, as far as the stream goes. So I appreciate people sticking around with me for, a couple hours this evening. I'm going to try to do a few more of these. I've enjoyed the comments. I enjoyed interacting with several of you. I may be in a position where I need mods at some point, and so I will look to maybe tap a few of you. So if you guys are interested in being like mods in the live, comment after the video, and then I'll see your name, and then next time I go live, which I'm going to try to get more consistent and try to go live on either like Fridays and Saturdays or some Fridays. Let me see. Other housekeeping. Just liking the video helps. Commenting on the video after helps. The fact that you've watched the video helps. All those things help separate from having to, support the channel financially, because just you watching helps support it because the channel's monetized. And so when they throw up those little weird commercials at you that you got to wait 5 seconds and bat away, all that goes to where YouTube gives a small fraction of that, and that can add up over time. So it's appreciated very much. And like I said, I'm going to get ready to kick the outro very soon. I think, yeah, that was it for housekeeping. Other than I will be trying to get on Discord a little bit tomorrow, but I do have church. The other thing, besides Discord, if you are a Muslim and you watch this and you want to interact with me, I have an open door policy for Muslims, meaning that if you are a Muslim and you listen to this and you're brave enough to come on, it'll be just you and me. And we can discuss Islam and you can give me your thoughts and your pushback and we can go from there. But yep, just you, me, one-on-one discussion. And how I normally end the video, guys. Until next time, take care of one another. And now to find that outro.
I go hard in the paint, yeah, homie, I'm a saint.
Ride or die.